Hey, welcome back on the final cut. We've got a really good show coming up now. We're going to be speaking to the CEO of the Fellowship, Barry Stevens, who sometimes on these podcasts you've seen him co-host with me. But I wanted, from the members' point of view, ask Barry all about this new era for the Fellowship. Joining me with the questions is David Foster from BarberEVO, SalonEVO, and we've got Barry as well. Barry, welcome to the final cut. I know this is a familiar setting for you over the last few months. You've been coming in and doing a bit of filming with us. How's it feel to be on the other side, first of all?
I'm concerned with the questioning technique.
Are you nervous? You should be.
I am.
Okay, seatbelts on then.
Strapped in.
So I want to make it light, but I think there's certain questions that from the members, and there's a rumour mill that sometimes goes around about where's the Fellowship been over the last 2 or 3 years, where it's going, what do you do, all that kind of stuff. So let's start off with, in a couple of minutes, can you just define your role as CEO for the Fellowship for British Hairdressing, exactly what it is you do?
Okay. The role was born out of a general manager's position that was filled for 24 years by a lady called Carol Spencer, who did an absolutely fantastic job of holding everything together through constant president and chair changes. So I think potentially she could have had up to about 24 bosses with it rotating annually. So she did an absolute fabulous job. I came in 2020. Was working with Carol, and after a year or 18 months with working with her, she felt confident that she wanted to retire, which I could fully understand as the pressure of the position that she had. So it was either replace like for like, or we did something different to change it up. So I decided to take the role on for a 6-month try before you buy period with the then board and decide if what I was doing was acceptable for moving the business forwards, and that they were happy with me, and I was happy to take on the role, which is no small role, as I'm sure you're aware. So that period happened. Last June I was instated as the CEO, the first that they'd ever had. I agreed a 5-year contract with them, as the 2-year rotation that's been happening with presidents and chairs was just not long enough to implement the changes that were required. It's a bit like when you put the government in. It takes a year to understand what's actually going on, a year to formulate a plan, a year to start implementing the plan, and then hopefully in year 4 it's actually starting to turn around. So during COVID, we had literally gone into the Fellowship garden, dug up every stone and looked under it, and rather than just patting it back down, we just looked at everything that needed changing within the business, not for the sake of change, but to help the business thrive and survive, to the point now where I am overseeing the day-to-day business. However, I am surrounded by a group at head office of very, very capable people, all different skill sets, and an executive board of 8, again, all who've come on with different job titles and skill sets. I ultimately answer to the board, so I'm there just to follow their instructions and implement where they see the direction for the business, but also to add some commerciality, some process, some automation, to develop it. So I was fortunate to be there for the 75th anniversary 2 years ago, and now we're looking to build to get to the 100th anniversary.
I mean, I don't know about you from the magazine's point of view. What's your view as the press about the Fellowship? Honest review.
I think it's fair to say that, Barry's come in, and as you say, it's a 5-year process. I like that you said it's like a government coming in, because you actually do have to get under the bonnet, so to speak. You have to get a feel for not just what's been happening, but what the members want, I'd imagine. But the big thing that keeps echoing in my head is you've got 2 challenges. What do the members want, but what do the board members want? And it's almost like, how do you make sure that that's all on the same page? I can imagine that's quite challenging. But to answer Simon's question briefly, I think you can see quite clearly anybody who was at the luncheon last December I guarantee you they'll be at the next one. And the only reason they won't be is because it'll be sold out. It was fantastic. And I'm not just saying that because you're here, because I'll give you as hard a time as you want.
Yeah, thank you.
I think anybody can see that you're trying to do a sort of whole grassroots approach to here. You're trying to, and Simon, I know you feel strongly about this as well. We need to identify tomorrow's talent. I know how big an issue that is for you personally.
Yeah.
And the concerns you have over who are tomorrow's leaders.
Yeah.
And I think every single thing you're doing is with that in mind, and I think that comes across very, very, strongly. So I commend you for that.
Well, I think what I inherited, and again, and this is not by default, it's by design, is that the Fellowship, from an iconic point of view, it's unbelievable. It has the creme de la creme. Any name in the industry that's ever been mentioned within the top level of hairdressing has been involved, and still is, in some shape or form. I think, again, we always seem to be alluding back to COVID all the time, but that was the sort of the breaking point where the lockdowns kicked in, and the stark reality of where we were with the membership and the actual reach of the Fellowship at that point was concerning anyway going into it, but it just really did have a real detrimental effect to the whole business and everybody involved in it. But we used that period wisely, and there was a team. It wasn't just me. There was a whole team who met weekly to go through the whole process of, literally, as you say, going under the bonnet and trying to understand what this actually needed to help it survive.
Can I just want to pick up on a point there, because I know inside, but you talked about the team and the staff. Forget the executive board that are voluntary. You talk about Fellowship Towers.
Yes.
How many staff do we have in total?
Employed 2 plus myself.
So I think it's just where things come across that. I think you speak to a lot of people and they say, oh, I spoke to your HR department, or I spoke to your finance department at the Fellowship, and it's as if we've got stacks of people working, 30 or 40 people working, when the reality is it's a very, very close-knit team, isn't it?
It is, and with changes where people have left from a head office perspective, there was the push during COVID to shut the office, and we asked the staff if they were happy to work from home, which they were. And I think we've been very lucky that the staff that we're working with now, Rita and Louise, who are employed like myself, can work from home and function very highly from home. We speak to each other obviously daily. There's regular weekly team meetings, there's monthly board meetings, so contact is, it's happening all the time. But it's been difficult not having a huge team to work with, because those people are under strain with what we're actually trying to do. But we have brought consultants in where they're working on a sort of an hourly, weekly, monthly basis, who've taken over key roles such as PR, social media, events was the last one. So that's Alison Jameson, AJC 93, and Lauren. They are now responsible for that side of the business. And these are skill sets that they know what they're doing. So I'm surrounding myself with people who are a lot better than I am at doing those roles.
Yeah. And so we've danced for a while. Let's get into the nitty gritty. There is questions that need asking, and whilst I'm going to take off my fellowship hat, I'm going to put on a member's hat and a general hairdressing community hat to ask you some of these questions. Okay. First of all, there's been some big changes. Why did you make them changes in the first place? There has been some big changes.
I think the biggest significant change that people will relate to will be dissolving the council, which had been in place for 75 years. That at the last meeting, there was 28 people round the table, and
was it productive?
It was counterproductive. Toxic is a horrible word, but there were certain factions that I think they were there for the wrong reasons. Again, I don't want to go into the back history, but it was too big, too cumbersome. there were certain people in the room that weren't adding value, and if you'd been there and sat in those meetings for over a year, you could see that fundamentally it was struggling to go through a glass ceiling because of the way the structure was set up. So we dissolved the council and introduced a more agile executive board. Originally, there was 9 members of the board. In the first 8 months, we lost 2 members, and that was due to workload. You've got to remember, all of these people are volunteers. So, they're there under their own steam. Most of them have got 2 or 3 jobs, not just one job. So at the end of the day, if someone's ringing you up and offering you work and it's paid, you just can't give that time and commitment. So they stepped down. And we had another one go just after Christmas, again, just to focus on the business, which I totally accept. We've had 1 or 2 replacements who've come in, and we're looking at a reshuffle again very soon, just to make sure that those key positions are filled by the right people and that they're capable of doing the job and giving the time.
I suppose the next question is that being part of the fellowship for 30 years, and I don't know if you know the story, but I'm quite honest with you that I was lucky enough on a cold October morning 25 years ago. I was given a graveyard shift at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning on one of your fellowship stages, and I'm up there and I'm thinking, why are we coming down from Yorkshire doing this? So we've got models, 2 or 3 grand we'd spent, but there's about 15 people in audience. You weren't spoke to that nicely neither, and I know this is a common thing within people who've come through that ranks. Unbeknown to me, Wahl was in the audience, watched me, spoke to me afterwards. The rest is history. As I say, I'm not here to take part, I was here to take over. That's happened, so I have to thank that spot at the fellowship, even though I don't want to praise the fellowship for it. That was the platform that I got picked up. Over this period of time, though, I've been synonymous with lots of faces that have been, you look at them and you think fellowship, they're not there anymore. Now, you are a Scouser by trade, and if you ever watch Brookside, there's a part on Brookside where the patio was lifted up and bodies were under the patio.
Was that Cornhill?
Aye.
It
Looks a bit like it as well, to be fair.
I was thinking that.
So, look, joking apart though, seriously, what's happened with the change of the guard? Every organisation has to go through it, but there's been a wholesale changes in the fellowship. What's happened?
It may appear that there have been wholesale changes, and this is a natural evolution of where people were in their careers, that they could see that this needed to go in a different direction in order to survive. And that sounds very dramatic, but that is the truth. Most of those people that you are alluding to would be honorary members. They're still members. They're still involved. The door is still wide open. So this is not a closed shop. People will come in, people will come out, and if they can help, we will seek their help. We are constantly asking for help because of the size of the team. So they may look like they've gone away, but they're still involved.
It's an interesting one when you watch it and you watch the evolution of it. I was just thinking there, if you think of a traditional hair salon, if you think of any kind of business, there's always turnover.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting when it comes to like a board or, kind of senior positions, and there's a bit of movement, all of a sudden people start to think.
It comes into focus
a lot more, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Could you see, it's a bit like a football team evolves. I'm looking at like Man City in this new season now. They've made big changes and they've just won treble. It kills me to say it, but they have. But Pep's seen that he needs to change it, so I think you did it for a lot of different reasons. It weren't as not that it did out wrong, but it weren't as ferocious as probably what it is now. Just explain in your own words the difference now between the 7 or 8 people that's very close to you doing it, and things like the finishing school, which we're going to come and talk to. Those changes that you made and moved people, and people didn't carry on doing their positions.
Yeah.
Is it for the right was it for this? Could you have seen them doing what we're doing? In terms of a board?
I mean, I think the big difference with me is I'm independent. So I've worked in the industry for 20 years, but I'm not beholden to anybody, so I don't owe anyone any favours. No one owes me a favour. The reasons that I came in, and I'll be really honest, in the early days, was for a networking opportunity. It was the most prestigious association. No, I'm not. I do get confused with Barry Stephen in Leicester, my half brother, but no, he's the.
And does he get excused asking people to fit him super duper fast Wi-Fi's in his business?
He recommends that, but he actually, but no, you know, we've been mixed up for a while. I've known Barry a long time, worked with Barry a long time. He's a lovely guy, but I think we're quite different people. What was the question?
Well, just basically the team that you've got around you now. Could you see? Did you need to make them changes?
Yeah.
Is it vitally important to the Fellowship?
Yeah, I think if any business wants to evolve, the players have to evolve with it, and it's different times, different places, different budgets, different skill sets will apply, and this is a transition that we're going through at the moment to, like I said, the top end is fabulous within the Fellowship with the iconic personalities. We are very top heavy there. We would like to appeal to a wider section of the industry, all hairstyles, all ages. And you've just mentioned the finishing school there, which is now us connecting with 16 to 25-year-olds, which is the future. And if we don't, we've got a serious problem.
It's interesting coming at that from our angle, obviously as a kind of media partner, as a company that really tries to report on what's relevant. It seems to me like it's been a struggle to ensure there's that relevancy, and actually the point that we're at now is you're starting to identify gaps, like you said, 16 to 25-year-olds.
Yep.
You're starting to identify that, you know, the board that's maybe top heavy, it's big names, but actually there's a lot more out there in the industry. So is this also a bit of an appeal, if you like, to say, look, there are opportunities to participate?
Yeah, I think it was seen as a southern-centric, middle-aged white men's exclusive club, which...
Well, I'm not southern or middle-aged.
No,
I'm pleased to know.
I don't fit all of those. I don't fit all of those categories. But I think when you looked on it, it was very, very southern-centric, and there is massive talent around the UK. So I think to combat that, a logical way of looking at this was just to break the country down into regions. Sure. We then came up with the idea of centres of excellence, where we can actually put our top educators, top mentors, the people who are offering the time, into places where it's needed, such as colleges, private training academies. So we have one centre of excellence, which is West Suffolk College. We've run a finishing school course there within the last month that was very successful. That was a pilot. And we've appointed a regional ambassador for that area. So prior to running the finishing school, we actually held an open evening, and we invited 60 local businesses in to talk about the gaps in training with the students and also with the businesses. So if all the stakeholders are on side, we're going to get a better result than people throwing stones at colleges. And I think it's safe to say that the 20 students that went through the week, all of them were employable.
That's something I've said on an earlier podcast, I think, when we had Andrew Barton in a few weeks ago, is that it surprised me that these kids at the end of the week, when they did their individual presentations, I looked and thought, I weren't at that level at your age. So if you're there already, what does the future hold for you? Because that's strong, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I go back to our story, being a member for years at the Fellowship, and lots of inspiration throughout the years. I remember my first ever show, I went to watch Charlie Miller, Anthony Muscola and Guy Kramer at Hammersmith La Palais, 21-year-old. My daughter had just been born, actually, Brittany. And so I was lots of inspiration in them days, going to watch all these creme de la creme.
Yeah.
I lost a little bit of love over the years, because you used to come and see the same old faces doing the same old jobs, doing the same old things, patting each other on the back, giving each other a medal. And I remember Barry phoning up and spoke to Wahl and got this thing on my desk, and he said, do you want to get involved in this photo shoot, sponsor the Project Men? About 3-4 years ago. I was like, no, I'm not giving him the money. I'll do it if we can get involved, because then I can at least use. So we had a clothes style. We had Stone Island actually to do the clothes that day. I worked with Jonathan Andrews and I met Barry, and then we spoke, and then we ended up taking over and doing the Project Men and getting involved now, which this is what I think is the difference, is within a 2-year period from not being involved to now being involved in Director of Education, sitting on the board, probably working with him nearly, in fact, too much really. I actually speak to him far too much and see him far too much for my liking.
My wife did say that.
It's getting a bit weird on sometimes now. Where is the Fellowship in terms of members, and what's the numbers? What's the future growth? Where do you see it coming from?
This has always been a bone of contention with regards to paying members and actual members, because when you've got your big groups, your Tony and Guys, your Rushes, your Headmasters, where they had a couple of people signed up, they would rock up 34 at a time to an event, and just under what was called house membership at that point, sort of they could come along to an event, which is absolutely fantastic, but that wasn't helping us with numbers and payments and generating revenue, and it had always hovered around about 500 to 600 members. That was again, we're talking about the elite here, we're talking about the people who want to knock it out the park on stage, so it was sort of catering for a very finite audience. The numbers have grown. I don't want to go into too much detail because we've just made our first acquisition this week, which will see the numbers treble in the next month, and that's something that we'd like to announce via the press and at the luncheon, because it's important that people can see this is actually growing significantly and around the country. So whatever we're doing is working.
If I can come in on that, just because you mentioned press, listening to this and this evolution, what was the purpose of the Fellowship and what is now the purpose of the Fellowship?
Well, that's interesting, because it was set up in 1946 by salon owners down in London who used, I think it was still Monday evenings, to educate and show off their talents and any new looks and techniques.
So it was like a collective, perhaps?
Yeah, it was trying to build a community.
Yeah.
And share skills. And what's ironic about it now is that we're trying to take this regionally, so it's strong in each region, and get someone to drive it locally by bringing the local salon owners together.
It's almost like it's gone through that process.
It has literally come back to its roots of why it was actually set up, however, on a bigger scale, which is quite ironic. But I don't think the fundamental values have changed. Because we want to expand the membership, is that going to affect the creative levels? No.
Because you're putting these pillars in, the best. These regional pillars in that enable you to do that across the country.
All the values remain the same. Yeah. We're still striving to bring the best in, find the next Trevor Sorby. That's always been the plan, and we won't deviate from that.
I just think with that one, it's like any membership body, a lot of people will look at it and think, does it need to exist? But if it has a strong purpose and a strong meaning, like the Fellowship does, and it's had that evolution in recent times, then of course there's a purpose and a reason. It's that belonging, it's being part of it. But it's, sometimes when you open the bonnet, you think, what is the why?
I think if you've got your David Lloyd membership and you go to the gym and you go in hell for leather when you sign up, and you
how you feel.
And you're doing 3 nights a week for your first month, and then it sort of tapers off, and you're continuing to pay for it, and then you get to Christmas and you've put on 2 stone and you've not been for a month. There is that type of membership, but this is now something where we're looking for lifetime members, where we can get them in when they're young, at the college age. Sure. They can see a pathway all the way through. The problem we have is that the bigger players at the top end just look totally inaccessible at the moment to them. The gap is too far. They're too far away. They can't see that far. How am I going to get there? So by bringing in the middle ground and introducing the colleges, you will actually start to connect all the dots, and there will be a logical pathway through.
So moving on to that, it's a perfect way to move in where you've gone so far. So there's been big changes. I think one in particular is forming your board that you've got, which has slimmed it right down, trimmed it right down. I mean, I've said to you on a few occasions, if you look at salaries around that, to have that board and to employ them, you're probably looking a couple of mil a year just in wages to have that. So to
Alone.
have that around.
Yeah.
I have to say that most of them are very lazy on the board, so it's normally left to people and superheroes like myself to do most of the work. And that's why he's laughing, because he knows it's true. So a message to Ashley, Michelle, Andrew Barton, Robbie, and all of you, if you can get your fingers out a little bit. I'm carrying a lot of you as we work through this.
The shoulders are sore.
Oh, yeah, honestly, really have. That's why I'm a bit crouched over today.
We've got a good mix.
Carrying all these bastards every day. Moving forward, we have this brand new, beautiful thing that's called the finishing school.
Yes.
That will change, and this is it's putting a smile on my face now as I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
Tell everybody a little bit about, and we'll do it together, about each day we're
well, I think you should, because you've been a fundamental part in
tell them the process,
this.
what's going to happen, just how many we're going to have.
So we've started talking about it 3 years ago. It took 2 years to formalise the criteria of what a centre of excellence would look like, and we appointed our first one in November 22, which was West Suffolk College in Bury St Edmunds, and there's a lady there, Marnie Randall, who's head of the department, who is she just ticks every box, and the team that she's got around are absolutely phenomenal. 300 students, and they picked 20 to go onto the finishing school course. So that was a pilot. We've had a lady called Jackie Holian who's come in to write that with us, which I didn't realise what I was taking on, to be quite honest. I didn't realise how monumental how monumental this was going to be, and we haven't even publicised it or launched it because it was a pilot. I didn't know if it was going to work. You know, not everything works, but this did. It was the experience, I think, for everybody on it was phenomenal. So we're now going to roll that out to 15, and it won't be limited to colleges. It will include private training academies as well. So we're not just focusing on the colleges, we're focusing on all learners, and there will be a regional fellowship ambassador in each of those 15 areas as well to support it locally.
I mean, we're super excited. I know you said to me last time when we did the first one, you need to be down covering it all week.
Absolutely.
But this is a process where colleges are going to come in, and if they've got the right Ofsted report, the right number of students, the level's fantastic. And most colleges now, you go into, most of you will sit there thinking, colleges though, they're not that good, and it's because you're looking at probably when you went 15, 20 years ago, you need to get back in there. They've changed.
They really have.
Yeah. Really changed. So we go in, the processes throughout the year, these kids are aware while they're doing their qualifications, MVQ 1, 2 and 3, same on the barbering side. The best, the creme de la creme, the top gun, the people of attendance has been good, grades have been good, they've shown skill, attitude, everything, get selected then to go on what's called the Fellowship Finishing School. As Barry said, at West Suffolk College we had 20 hairdressing, 6 barber students that came through. You can pass, you can merit, or you can get a distinction. Day one, we did soft skills and things like getting them prepared up here, opening doors for people, talking about retail, talking about having a business, showing people how to do interviews. And how did we do that? We fetched people from their area. Salon owner who had got Janine had got four salons, and we had Colin McAndrew, part of our board, who came down from Scotland, has got the Medusa chain up in Scotland, and they were saying this is what we used to look for when we're looking at applications. So it really helped the kids on that day one. We give them the rules of the week. Day two, we had Colin McAndrew did the cutting on the hairdressing side. I had Michael Damiano, Hall of Famer, in to do some of the classic work in the barbering side. Day three, we had Michelle Griffin and Ijan, who did styling and texture. Michael did the fade for the barbers in there. And we reviewed it each morning. We motivated them. It was a team talk. We got them. Trust me, if you're salon owners, there's a funny thing that we walked through reception and there was one of those yellow wet floor signs. And I'm like, this is the problem that salon owners look at you guys, because everything's mollycoddled around you. It's like nobody's going to put a yellow sign out. It's like, get a towel, dry the floor, clients coming in, real life situations. And so we helped, and the kids loved it. The kids loved it.
They did.
We walked through the week, so each day they got something different. And hey, listen, I had Rob Eaton in doing colour.
Rob and Ashley
British
working
hairdresser of the
together.
year, and Ashley, and then I did a day with them on creative cutting. Then we did the presentations at the end of the week. This is, if you're not even at college, I'm sure it appealed to most of you to have some of these top presenters coming out to do what we call the Fellowship Finishing School. The kids all had the cloak and hats on. There were people who got distinctions, individual separate awards. They all threw their hats in the air. The parents were there.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it. And there was one magical moment, which I have to say, I turned to Mark Clive, your cameraman at the day, and I said, you need to watch this one. This young girl came in and she did a presentation. And I said, I'm just going to say to you right now, the way you've performed all week, and I want you to tell the story about the Monday, the way you've performed all week, this is an opportunity for me to see stars and rising stars, and I'm going to give you an opportunity over the next 12 months to work with Wahl, and I'm going to progress you. If it gets no further, there's no expectations, but we're going to help you. We're going to give you extra training. We're going to fetch you to exhibitions. We're going to put you on stage. I mean, I struggled to talk. It was a golden buzzer moment. None of these knew I were going to do it. No. I looked at him, and he was struggling to talk. Janina got tears in her eyes. Rob was same, and it was just one of those moments where you think, this is what this week's been all about. It was just amazing.
Yeah, well, it's giving back, isn't it, at its best? This was, this is the ultimate, giving them the opportunity to rise to the top. They've now got a fellowship certificate from the finishing school that we hope to get accredited, and obviously when they're going for an interview with a CV, they're going to be in a lot better position than possibly some of the other candidates that they've been through it, and they're going to get a career out of it.
Do you know, again, thinking back to our readership with BarberEVO, with SalonEVO, I always think about this issue about recruitment. We feature it twice, 3 times a year.
Yep.
It never goes away. It's the same challenges time and time again, and it's employability.
Yeah,
I'm listening to what's taking place. I obviously saw the online coverage. I've spoken with Simon. I've spoken with yourself off air. For me, the skills like opening the door, being polite, when someone walks in and it's maybe a quiet moment in the shop or the salon, not just sitting around, lounging around. All of these, I think you called them the soft skills. To me, when I go in as a co-owner of 2 publications, I always think whenever I go into a shop or a salon, I think, no, red mark, that's not good. That
first impressions
are everything, absolutely. Even like cleanliness in the salon, whatever it may be. And I always think like that has been forgotten about for so long, and everybody just wants to go by, look at my ability and look at what I can do from a technical standpoint. But the fact that you're actually giving them that extra, and I go back to employability, you're making them more employable. I go back to my question about what is the purpose of the fellowship, or what is the reason? To me, from the outside looking in, I'm thinking, bang, there you go. Your grassroots project is facilitating more people to become more employable, which to me raises the standards from the bottom up.
Yeah, well, not wishing to bite off more than I can chew. Once this is set up, the plan is to go back into schools, 14 to 16-year-olds with the careers advisors and their parents, and start actually explaining what a good career it is, rather than them being talked out of it and thinking that if you're not academic, there is nothing out there for you.
And do you know what? I think that alone is an incredible thing to be able to make a difference with. I think that alone is so powerful. I
just think, I'm still amazed by people. I was still judged when you could leave school, that you're judged on job positions by your qualifications in this day and age.
That's not going to go away.
Well, I think it needs to, because there's so many people that have got so many special qualities but might be suffering from different, I know ADHD is always fetched, and so many people are undiagnosed with that, and so many hairdressers and barbers I know said that they have it. I think sometimes they play on it, if you want me to be honest with you.
Yeah, well,
I know I have selective ADHD.
Most of the ones I know are dyslexic in some shape or form, and at the end of the day, that's not a disability that we can't overcome.
No, it's I think this college thing that we're doing in the future, because I think we're always saying on the final cut, it's about the next breed of people coming through, and it's so important for all of us to make sure that you want to leave this industry in a healthy position. You know, we I think it was a couple of weeks ago we had Tarek House, and I was speaking to him about his career and how he's done, and he's going off now doing Love Island, and you know he walks around in 20 grand chains and all this stuff.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah, apparently. So I've tried it on actually. It's quite nice, and you know he you can tell obviously he's influenced by Danny Robinson with the Stone Island that he wears, but I think the thing that with him is there's like, we've got to pass that on to the next gen coming through as well. We've got to pass it all on as we work down, because you want to look back and say, yes, I remember those conversations. I remember, you know, and I've been instrumental in Jackie Olian's and Alison's and the names and stuff. And I can look back in my career, and it's not about a trophy or thing, but I look at the fellowship work that I'm doing and saying, yes, I can look back. When we get to that 100th year anniversary, and I'll be 73, we were working this out the other night.
I need a calculator.
84.
Thank you.
And we can look back at our careers and say, didn't do bad, did we there? We left it in good shape. We changed a lot of things.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the current president, Rob Eaton, his family values and what he wants to bring and what he wants his legacy to be, to pass on to the next president and so on, is admirable, because it's all about giving back, and the amount of time that they put in is phenomenal for people who have got 3 or 4 other jobs. So that has to be noted. I think a lot of people look at, you know, when there's a big fellowship event happening and they're looking at the top slots on the stage going, oh, I fancy that. You know, I think that's the tip of the iceberg.
Well, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we were in London on the Monday, we were up to Leeds, we were out for dinner on the Tuesday night, we had meetings, then Wednesday we were together, and I think sometimes people forget when you're going to volunteer for this level. I'm very lucky with my company Wahl, how much they support and help and believe in the fellowship and the work that we've done. And as a brand, we're not stupid, we know that you get extra benefits from that. But, you know, I think you have to come into this with like
eyes wide open,
and you've got to have some heart to make sure you're going to do it. And I think that's what I'd always want to be remembered by, is that you showed a lot of heart. You never went in a room and you never thought, you didn't realise, you always knew thinking. You didn't think, I'm coming out, it's a bit hard to work out him. No, he don't like me, or he loves me. It's that kind of feeling that you get. Barry, moving forward, message to our members. We've 76 years.
Yeah, 77.
77, 23 up to the 100.
Yeah.
You've got 5 years so far.
Yes.
You're right. You said the board is your boss, so
Yeah.
pay attention. I want to make sure you understood what I'm going to tell you. What's the message to the members now? What you want to say to them is like, you know, what's the big rally, the big motivational speech that you want to say to the members?
I think it's getting involved, staying involved, looking at the opportunities, coming forward with ideas regionally to build it in your area. The opportunities are there. You know, the door is wide open. We want people who can do.
I mean, you look at the last 2 Air and Vision evenings. They've been sold out.
Well, there's people locked out on the street. You know, it's
the current British Hairdresser of the Year calls actually were struggling to get in
Yes.
to Weller.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Well, obviously special dispensation. He got in the building, but it's every event is sold out. So there is there's an appetite for it.
And we've got Air and Visions coming up. We've got the app. We've got loads of different events.
We've got all of our projects are now, all the applications are open. Our awards have just started opening. So there's all to play for.
Talking at the awards, just to let everybody know, if they've never been to the luncheon before, bear in mind, from what I can gather, that the tickets have already gone on sale.
Yes.
And from what I can gather at the board, over 50% of them have already been sold.
Yes.
Already, it's not till December. But if you've never been to the luncheon before, just explain. How would you describe it?
Yeah, I went last December. It was my first time. I went in kind of, with a kind of blank canvas. We'd had a couple of discussions. Barry, Simon had obviously filled in a lot of blanks for me, but went in with a very much a blank canvas approach to it, because not to bore everybody, but sort of previous career, if you like, I've had a lot of these kind of dinners where award shows or anything like that. A lot of legal ones, a lot of political ones, and they're a bore. And people go because they feel they have to. They feel there's an obligation.
Obliged.
There you go. There's an obligation on it. I was genuinely so pleased, so pleasantly surprised that folk were there because they were passionate about it, because they felt that there was something happening. And I think that's hard to bottle up. We spoke about bottling things up today, haven't we? Like Insight, for example, that would be amazing. Imagine you could sell that. But just bottling up that excitement and that anticipation. And I think there was a real sense coming in it from a fresh perspective, was that we're undergoing some change here. We're going in the right direction. These are the elements, or these are the pillars that we've installed now to give us a solid foundation, and this is what we're going to grow with.
Yeah.
I was so pleasantly surprised. I've already said to our team, we need a table. If they've not done it, then I'm panicking, because he's telling me that half the tickets are away.
Going fast.
But
True story.
Genuinely, I was so pleasantly surprised, and I think you've set the bar. And I know what kind of guy you are. The challenge is then, how do you continue to improve and evolve? And I'm in no doubt.
We've got a few things up our sleeve though for this year
I
that could make it better.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of the best ever this year. We have something really special going on.
Do you know as well, to have half the tickets away, and there's meant to be a cost of living crisis. That's not right to say meant to be. There is, right? There's a lot of issues out there. You look at the inflationary rate, it came down just recently, but not enough.
No.
The cost of so many things has gone up, shot up. It's made it difficult for people. And then when you think about it, when the cost of things go up, the people that get hurt will be salon owners, barbershop owners, etc. So the membership, to have half of the tickets already away, tells me that they made a clear decision. This is a no-brainer. I must be at, and I must be seen there. So I think that in itself says a lot in this current environment. Like I say, I'm really stressed out about the table now for our company. We need to get that sorted. But
I think it's one of those events for me as well. It's always been the start of Christmas. It's your first
officially
event. But for coming down from Yorkshire years ago, we used to catch a train in the morning. We'd probably be booked on an 8 o'clock train that night. You have your hangover about 9 o'clock at night on the train going back. But it's like you start drinking at 11. It's 4th, 5th of December, first Monday in December. It's the start of Christmas. You're in London, the trees, the atmosphere. It's always been, the Fellowship Luncheon's always been the start of Christmas for me. So it's an exciting thing. Now being part of it and being involved in it, and I'm sure you have to pinch yourself on many occasions that you have me now in your ranks, that you can pull on my experience for all the superb jobs and expertise that I've fetched to you. And this year's going to be no different at the awards. We've got some exciting things. It's going to be quicker, slicker, better than it ever has been before. So if you've not got your tickets, I'm going to say this. It is in the centre of the capital. Where we have that event is the centre of the centre. Yeah. You couldn't get any more central in London. Leicester Square, the Londoner. Is it the 5th of December?
It is the 4th.
4th of December
Monday
this year.
the 4th.
Tell Simon it's the 5th, so he misses it.
You won't want that really, would you? Because we meet up the day before and we have a drink the day before.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
Well, we're going to go to Winter Wonderland this year, so we need to get Andrew on some of those rides and put a smile on his face before Christmas. And then while he's up there, sometimes I want to say, I've paid the guy downstairs. Unless you give me the 3rd front cover, we're not moving from here till I get the hat trick. Yes, You can see it there, chaps. It's right in front of us. The latest edition of BarberEVO. We've also got the latest edition of the Fellowship and SalonEVO as well, right in front of us. Barry, I'm going to finish off with some quick fire questions, because I think people see you as the CEO. In your other life as well, you have Mutu, which is do you want to tell everybody a little bit about Mutu?
No, this is a fellowship interview.
That's looking like a true professional, keeping it nice and clean. Here's what he's getting paid for to do today. Yes. But that is a good one. I was saying, I tell him the little story. I go to a little cafe in Spain, and sometimes I'll try the one next door just for a change, because I like to do a bit of work in the morning. And I said to him, I have to go back to the usual one because the Wi-Fi is so much better. And then we started a conversation. I found out what Barry did, and it was like the light bulb moment. You need really good Wi-Fi in your shops. Businesses.
Broadband is critical.
Quick question. And these are from our members.
Really?
Yeah. So the first question is, do you have any tattoos?
No.
Would you like one?
No.
Because we were thinking at Christmas we could do a tattoo in London. I'll speak to Carly about that. See,
I would.
And if you want,
short shrift.
if you want to write in or send messages in on this pod, if you want Barry to have a tattoo, send photographs of the tattoo that you'd like him to have. And if we get over 50 people, Barry will donate £5,000 to a charity of your choices, and he will have the tattoo that's the most popular one. That is a promise. You heard it here first on The Final Cut.
Thank you.
What is your retirement ambition?
I am not saving up to die.
Nice one.
I'm going to continue working until I fall down, and that's it.
Oh, nice one. So you're not intending to leave a massive inheritance behind? You're gonna
No, I'm going to spend it all.
You're gonna do it all. You're gonna have a good time.
Absolutely. Have a massive blowout.
Excellent. Stay away from the watch shops. I bet when your kids take you out, they're like, "No, Dad, get away from them. Get away." Security call.
Yeah, you got to have a vice, haven't you? You know.
What's your favourite rock band?
Van Halen.
Oh, you can imagine him listening to that driving
Yeah,
along.
I think so.
Yeah.
Superb car. He'd be nice listening to all that as well.
Very relaxing.
People are sending messages in as we speak as well. Tell Barry it wasn't fancy dress on your podcast today. It's a bit unfair, but we're going to let that one go at this particular moment in time. He's got his best jacket. On that one.
Only jacket.
Who is your favourite clothes designer?
Oh God, I'm not I like nice clothes, but I'm not a big brands person.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good enough answer for you, but
So you sat there in your jimmies.
okay, yeah, okay.
Oh,
I like
that's a bit
Jimmy
flamboyant.
Choo
You're the
shoes.
CEO of the Fellowship. We want to, you're walking around like a Philadelphia lawyer up and down Clive Studios. I have to say as well, we're here at SE1. All the Final Cut podcasts have been filmed here. What an amazing space this is.
Do you know what? It's incredible. It's got everything, and the thing is as well, it's evolving much like the Fellowship. There's a lot more in the pipeline.
Did you see down the corridor past dressing room 1, which smells beautiful of my ouds and all my clothes and all personality in there? If you pass dressing room 2, which is his, it's quite lonely in there. There's a couple of shirts that are,
There's me and Bob the Spider.
like a good idea that's in his head. It's very lonely. And as you walk down, there's a Moretti draft there. Did you spot that?
I did. It needs refilled. Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry, Clive. It does need refilled.
Clive. Listen, we've been.
Well, this is a
weeks.
fantastic venue.
It is.
Brilliant venues, and if you are thinking, obviously we do a lot of shoots, but if you're doing video shoots in particular, I cannot think of anywhere better than to come here and do it, because it's just got that vibe about it. And these guys as well, they specialise in this industry in my eyes, because you've always seen them.
Well, they've looked after us.
I was in the building maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, and Angelo's upstairs doing some editing. You've had Andrew Barton here doing, and it's like, wow, you're coming in this building, it's like, this has got some greatness about it for people to come and do it. So if you are looking for things, have a look at SE1 Studios in London. They're a really cool venue to come and do your stuff. Barry, thank you very much. I know you've been helping us on this podcast as well, but thank you for coming in on behalf of the Fellowship and answering some of those tougher questions that we needed to get out. But I think that'll be
I hope so.
Our members will like that. So
Super.
Thank you very much
Thank you,
for coming
Barry.
in.
Much appreciated.
Barry Stevens, CEO of the Fellowship, here on the Final Cut. We hope you've enjoyed that, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.